Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Friday. It is 12 o'clock, so you already know what that means. It's another episode of MillenniYell with Billy and Mel. What is going on, guys? Hopefully you're having a great Friday. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm in a different location. I got a crab behind me. I am at the beach.
We can tell, Billy.
This is not how I decorate my house, I promise. But anyways, guys, that's the power of technology. We can do our episodes from wherever we want to. And so, but it is another episode of MillenniYell with Billy and Mel. And we have a very special episode because we have a special guest, our main guy, Derek. He is a realtor. He's going to be talking to us about some of the stats that are out there pertaining to millennial home buying, because there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. I'm sure we're going to learn some stuff, and we're going to just react to it, because that's what we do best. We just kind of go with the flow. You know how this show is. But anyways, Mel, before I bring on Derek, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Week is good. Actually, I had a turn of events. I know last week we talked a little bit about my new kind of situation with work, and I had a reset in a sense. I do my workshops and my things with 10X and Grant Cardone, and I picked up the book, and no lie, something changed. And I got emails for logos. I got emails for a monthly contract. I got a wedding sale on my website, and so I'm back. I feel back motivated and determined, because there's motivation and determination. So I'm feeling good. I'm glad it's Friday. I have some nice plans for the weekend, but I'm excited to MillenniYell today, because we've been saying that we were going to yell with Derek for a long time, and he's one of the reasons, if not the reason, that we are here, him and Greg together. Kind of got us together. So we're very appreciative of him. So we're always a good time.
And I just got to make a quick disclaimer, guys. I put it in the caption. Listen, Derek got a special place in our heart. He is not a millennial, right? He's that other generation. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. I know he's been burning to talk about some
yes, he's been itching.
So I can see him in the background laughing about that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our buddy, Derek. What is going on, man? How are you doing?
About it.
So, but thank you for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. We've been looking forward to this for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So, but Derek, for those that don't know you, which is, I feel like everybody knows you. So
yeah,
for those that are watching this, right, that watching this for the first time or seeing Derek for the very first time, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, some of your hobbies, those types of things.
Sure. Yeah. First, thanks for having me on. It has been a long time coming. And I didn't know you guys met in the group. You met in the group via the group?
Absolutely.
Yes. Central PA group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Kyle Slaymaker also has a show with somebody else from the group that he met through that.
Look at
all getting business out of it, making shows. Actually, we should start like a podcast, Central PA podcast coalition, or maybe there already is one. You're already kind of part of one. Maybe I just need to be part of that one.
Maybe.
We'll start one. Nobody else take your idea.
There's a lot of us, and then we could get more guests for everybody and everything. Like Billy said, I'm Derek Bicksler. A lot of you know me. For those that don't, I grew up here in Central PA, born and raised. I grew up on the Hill in Harrisburg, 18th and Mulberry. I just showed a multi-unit just down the block, right next to my old bus stop, which brought back memories. And I was telling them about a story about how we moved to. Then I went to high school in Mechanicsburg because I refused to go to school about halfway through 8th grade. So then we moved to Mechanicsburg. Basically, we went to church in Mechanicsburg since I was little. So my parents said, my sister was already gone and in college, and they said, "All right, you want to move? Where do you want to move to?" And I picked Mechanicsburg. So we moved there. I graduated from Mechanicsburg, played basketball there, went to Penn College of Technology in Williamsport. For those of you who don't know, we call it Penn Tech. Yeah, they don't like to call it that anymore.
Really?
Because it has like a tech school. They call it Penn College now or whatever. It's a great school, and I think they've got to have one of the highest placements of all their majors. Obviously, the trades are in
Penn State
super
degree.
high demand. Yeah. And my mom worked for Penn State, so it was, other than incidentals and like meals and stuff, a lot of it was paid for. So it made a lot of sense. Went up there, went for plastics engineering, detested that because I was really good at math. I had one wrong on the math portion of my SATs. So entry level for a 2-year degree was like 70, 80 grand. And if you got a 4-year degree, it was like 100 to start. And there were only 2 schools that did it, Penn Tech and MIT, and I wasn't going to MIT.
None of us were going to MIT.
No, I did get into Bucknell, I think, which is kind of hard school, but I don't. Yeah, MIT, I wasn't even thinking about that, and Bucknell wouldn't have happened either, probably. But so went up there, ended up switching to business, and then when I came back, I had a bunch of sales jobs, and then 15 years ago, 2006, I guess now, I got my real estate license. I started in commercial. My first 5 years-ish was all commercial during the boom with another Campbell Commercial Real Estate. And then at the boom, commercial is always like a year or two behind residential. So we were kind of watching all the house sellers, house realtors kind of, no, everything's terrible. And we were still hand over fist. And then it did crash. And then I moved to where I am now, RSR Realtors in Lemoyne, because they are probably the best place in the area, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, to do both.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of heavy hitters in both the residential arena and the commercial arena. We just had Jim Corey. He's one of the partners at our firm. He was just in the Central Penn Business Journal out of like 5 people or something from Central PA of heavy hitters in the commercial development game. He does a lot with sheets and all kinds of other stuff too. And I will say, if any of them watching, Jimmy and Jeffrey, his sons who are here now too, also do a lot of the work. So, but Jim Corey, if you needed commercial help, or me. So we do a lot of commercial. Came to RSR where we could do both. Started selling houses. I still do both. I probably do a little bit more houses, and I don't publicize or talk about the commercial stuff at all because, like you guys know, you got to niche down a little bit with your marketing. So if you went to my marketing, you just see house sales, but I do commercial, office leasing, warehouse sales, investment sales, multi-units. Like I said, we were just down there looking at a 8-unit in the hood. So if you're looking for something like that, hit me up. I know, Melissa, we're going to talk about home buying, and you were talking about maybe a multi-unit at some point. That's not the one you want, I think.
Yeah. That's not the one you want to get into right away. Right? Not your first one, anyway.
No.
Well, I mean, that's
what else? Hobbies? Did you say hobbies or something?
Yeah, I was just say hobbies.
How about biking? Biking? How about your kiddos?
Mountain climbing.
You're co-owner of the
was.
Right? I was. I didn't know you weren't anymore.
Yes. The Cave Rock Climber. I was co-owner of that, part owner. It's about a year. It's closed. We won't get into that, but I'm okay. It's not a big deal. I was minority partner. Yada yada. But I do rock climb still, and if I'm doing a plug for a gym, it's the Climbnasium, which is the second oldest climbing gym in the country, second only to one in Seattle that was the first one in '87, and the Climbnasium was '89. So if you're getting into rock climbing, hit up the Climbnasium.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome place to go. Very heady climbers there, but don't be intimidated. So I still climb. Mountain biking is probably my first passion. I do a ton of that. All the rocks and the single track, not rail trails, the stuff that you see on YouTube, and Red's maybe not quite that crazy, but as crazy as I can get.
Yeah, they're crazy. Your videos.
My bike's actually broken right now. A little piece that hooks the frame together that I've broken a bunch of times, and the bike's 8 years old, something like that. For a bike, it's kind of old. So the part I've been waiting 2 or 3 months, and their estimated time of delivery, I just called to ask. They just added another 7 weeks to it. So I don't think they even have the part anymore. And at some point, no, it's just they don't have the part anymore. And the system probably says they have it, and they're going to ship it, but they haven't. So. I'm a little peeved right now, and my other hobbies have gone up outside of the mountain biking. But yeah, anything outdoors or extreme, I'm down with. Skydiving, hang gliding, bungee jumping, rafting, you name it. I have done it, or we'll do it.
So you're that guy if I asked for, if I was selling you life insurance, right? You're that guy I asked that question that you're going to be
denied. Polly.
Well, there's a question for you, Billy. I have life insurance. It's just a don't ask, don't tell. Or if you die doing one of those things, they just don't pay out, right? Or does it void it if they know you do it?
No, it just depends on the situation, but usually if they find out that was the reason, they'll try not to. But most insurance companies end up paying out because
I'm fine with. If I jumped out of a plane and die, I'm fine with them not covering.
That risk. Like Along Came Polly, Ben Stiller in Along Came Polly.
Yeah, volcano luging. But yeah, that's awesome. But you also do some other stuff that's pretty interesting. You do a lot of marketing as well for people too. You don't just sell homes. I know you on your podcast, Outside the Box, right? That's the name of it. I always forget the name of it. I always want to pronounce it right. But you talked about getting 5 stars and stuff like that. So you do a lot of that too, right?
I do. So 15 years of real estate, the thing that has always been my jam has been the marketing part of it. I come from a long line of introverts. If you met my parents and my grandparents, I couldn't even tell you what my grandfather's voice sounded like, my one grandfather, for the most part. So that tells you how much of an introvert they are. He was a really good writer. He had a stuttering problem, yada, yada, but a lot of introverts. So when I got into sales, it was a very scary thing for me. And I kind of got into it just because that's where the money is. Or at least that's what I was thinking, is that's where I'm going to make a good amount of money without a doctorate degree or an MD or some kind of thing that is going to allow me to get a high paying job. So I got into sales for that reason, come from a long line of introverts. So when I got into real estate, what I excelled at and purposely went towards was the marketing part of it. Back in the day when I first started, wasn't so much social media and digital marketing, but it was redesigning flyers and just making signs bigger and better than everybody else, doing mailers bigger and better than everyone else, and all that kind of stuff. And then as the digital stuff progressed, obviously I got really good at that. And I don't think I've ever made a cold call in my entire 15 years. I hate it. I don't like doing it. I despise it. I hate it. Oh, maybe I've made a couple, so every once in a while, because it is good time spent. If you can do it, it is probably the best time spent, is to just sit down and call 200 expireds or FSBOs or something.
Right.
However, if you want to shoot yourself in the face and you're not going to keep it up and be consistent, so I've tried it and like, I'm going to do this. I got a list. I sat down, I set myself up for success and I've tried it. And then I call 1 or 2, or I really do find it some excuse to not do it. So I just decided, you know what, instead of the old way of, and I think this has changed maybe for millennials and for the younger people, everybody used to say, you got to work on what you're bad at. You need to identify what you're bad at, and you need to get better at those things. If you suck at math, you need to do math more. But it's now kind of gone more to the way of, you need to find out what you're good at, you're passionate about, and go towards that. So it's no longer you need to know all this and be a well-rounded person and get this job in a factory or be a worker or whatever, you need to find what you're passionate about and go after that. So I kind of took that on in a lot in the last 5 years or so, that, forget it. I'm not even trying to do cold calls or do those things that pain me and I hate and detest doing and that burn me out. Every 6 months, I'm like, should I even keep doing real estate? I hate this. It's so hard. Or I could just lean in and get way, way good at and better at the stuff that I like. So that's how I got really good at digital marketing. At some point, people... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, because it's funny because most engineers and like math, like what you were doing in college and what you went to aren't usually the creatives. Like usually it's not, they don't really go hand in hand. Like I'm the creative and I'm not really that good with, the math and the finance and the, all that other stuff. So it's interesting to hear that you had that background as a base, but then went into like more on that creative.
Yeah, I would say I'm more creative from the jump, and the math simply came from having good aptitude and smart, whatever. But at some point, my dad is really good at math. He was a math teacher at some point. My mom was an English teacher. At some point, I started getting bad grades because I have ADD and I don't like doing homework, yada, yada. And they started making me, I remember, started making me, especially us entrepreneurs,
I know,
started making me take a piece of paper to school. And every class, I would have to have my teacher write down what the homework was, what we did, and then I would have to bring it home and show my parents. Because my thing was the homework. I would get bad, C's, D's, F's because I just wouldn't do any of the work. because I could pass the test without even paying attention, yada yada.
Yeah.
I'll show up, pass the test. So I hated. I want to go play. I don't want to do that. So at some point they made me do this. I had to bring it home, and then my dad would just sit down and help me with the math, geometry, algebra, all that stuff. I mean, shout out to my dad. He's not watching, but he would go in because kids.
He could be a fan of the show.
He does watch every time.
He could be watching us every Friday, not watching you, actually.
I want to know, Dad, if that's
hey, Dad. What's up, Dad?
Dale. Dale's a shout out.
Dale.
Not a chipmunk. He was good at math, but still I give him kudos because he didn't know that lesson. So every night I remember he would take my book, go back into his bedroom and like do the stuff, learn the chapter, and then come back out and teach it to me. And he wouldn't give me the answers. He would teach it to me the real way, how I'm trying to teach my kids, where, help them figure it out and help them come to the conclusion. Don't just say, oh, yeah, that's 3, that one's 5, and kind of just tell them how to do it. He would even make me do it like 3 different ways. All right, now we did it. Hold on. We're not done, son. There's 3 other ways you could do it. So I just got really, really good at it. And every math class, I'm sitting there bored. Who knows how to do this? The teacher always knew. If nobody else knew the answer to the homework, like, Derek, what's the answer? And I hated that. That's not what I want, because I was smart, but I didn't want to be the nerd or the one that knew everything. So that's how I was in school. I was smart, but I didn't want to be known as the smart guy. I wanted to be cool. So
I wanted to be cool. You can be both, Derek.
Yeah. Yes. So I was creative from the beginning, I think. I was always drawing. I was making t-shirts in high school. I was always creative. I left a trail of creativity behind me everywhere.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So then that's interesting.
Yeah. Because a lot of the engineers I run into are all just data number guys, right? Or gals, right? That's all they do. And that's
personality.
Yeah.
What personality?
But they're predictable.
Sorry.
Like, they're very predictable. You could usually get them with simple stuff, even though it's not simple to them. But what we're really excited about talking today with Derek is some of these millennial home buying facts, because it's so interesting to see how different. And I'm sure you've seen this, Derek, especially when you help people sell because you're probably helping people that are retiring sell their homes. You probably have people that are first-time home buyers, people that maybe bought multiple homes at this point, multiple generations. You probably have helped those types of clients out. And so it's interesting to see the different dynamics within generations, and especially from somebody like me, who is a homeowner, and Mel, who's a renter at the moment. She's bought homes before, but it's interesting when I talk to other millennials, oftentimes, when I'm sitting down doing a plan for them, one of their big goals is, hey, I want to save for a house, right? I want to save 20% for a house. And you look at some of the stats, and I'm sure you're gonna be able to share some, and it'll be interesting to see if these align or not. But from what I've heard, like, millennials are the ones that are buying the least amount of homes, not buying as many homes as other generations, not having as many kids, not saving enough for retirement, those types of things. So, like I said, I'm interested to see what kind of things that you have and us kind of react to them. So I'll let you take it away and kind of give us some of those stats.
Sweet. Yeah. And I was under some of the impressions you were before I started pulling up these stats, because you hear things in the news and people saying things. And then some of the stats that I pulled, and by the way, if anybody wants to look these up, these are all directly out of the National Association of Realtors 2020 House Purchasing Reporter. I don't know. If you Google that, you'll find something. It's a PDF. So you can.
Are you referencing Brandon? Where is Brandon today? Our stat guy.
I know, but remember, Mel, we always make that disclaimer on some of the topics that we talk about that we're not experts, right? Well, we have an expert today, and look, I got the point down right. Look at that. We got an expert today on the matter.
Like Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
And even though the NAR is in trouble with the DOJ right now for antitrust, I don't even know. I don't follow it very much, and it's ridiculous. But they are the foremost expert, and we are the biggest lobbying group on the planet, I believe. The biggest associate. We're enormous. So they do so much research in the field of housing and all that stuff that they're probably the best people to go to for stats on this stuff. Obviously, there are other good places too, but you can trust it. And if anybody wants to see the whole report, you can just Google it and you can pull it up for yourself. And they do one every year. If you wanted to look at past ones, you could see past ones as well. So first, I'm going to turn the tables a little bit before I start doing the stats here, because you stated you got a homeowner here and a renter. So maybe each of you, and you're both millennials. And I'll also mention, I'm right on the fringe. I'm X, but I'm like,
right.
So here, actually, I have them here. So what are 1980?
1 to 1996.
Well, this says 1980 to 98. So so maybe this is just for this report or whatever NAR says it is millennials are, so they classify 1980 to 1989 as older Gen Y / millennials, and 1990 to 1998 as younger Gen Y millennials. So they actually split them up into 2 categories because the stats do differ slightly, I guess.
Makes sense.
And then Gen X goes to 79. And I know if you Google like generations, you'll get different years. But I guess my point was I'm right on the line. So I kind of identify with the X and the millennial and both a little bit. You go younger into the, what are they now? The Zs. And then I start getting like a grandpa. And I don't know what's going on with these kids.
Now it's Generation Alpha.
We don't know
Generation Alpha is the next generation, actually. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Billy or whoever wants to go first, I guess, tell us why, as millennials, maybe Billy, why did you buy a house, or why did you see the need to do it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, for me, the buying of the house, I think it's 2 different mindsets, because I think before I started in the career that I'm in now, right now I see it as an investment, right? Something that's going to appreciate over time, right? It's something along those lines. But like when you first bought a home, like that was the age-old dream, right? It's the American dream, is buy a house, have a white picket fence, those types of things, right? And so, but now my mind, this is my second house that I've been in. So first house bought, first time home buyer, and then this is the second house. And so I just love the fact that what I'm paying into, I'm going to eventually own, and that I don't have like, a landlord per se. I don't have people around me, like, on top of me or below me or beside me. And so, for me, I see this as a long-term investment that I could, when I'm ready to retire, I'll sell and it'll be added onto my retirement. So.
And you're a financial planner, so obviously planning all that stuff goes in there.
Yeah.
Do you advise others to purchase property when you are with clients?
Yeah, I do. It depends on their financial situation. Like if they got a ton of debt, we want to take care of that first. We want to make sure credit's good. When I'm sitting down with somebody, I want to make sure that they're the most solid home buyer that they possibly can be, especially when the market that we were just in. I know the market's changing a little bit. It's cooling down a little bit, but I mean, you can probably speak better to this than I can, Derek. You get multiple offers on a home, right? Way over asking price. If you were a first-time home buyer, it was, it didn't look good. All the conventional loans and stuff like that. So, I do tell people if you're going to, I'd much rather someone buy a home than buy a bunch of brand new cars, because those depreciate over time and they're not going to be, unless it's a classic car, then it's different, right? But no, I'm always telling people, you definitely want to look into buying a home, because you get a lot of tax advantages and all that type of stuff. So a lot of advantages to buying a home, other than just, living, like I said, not having to rent, not having to throw away your money. So
yeah.
But then there are also times that don't make sense, right? Like Melissa, or if you're not going to be in an area for more than a few years, maybe it doesn't make sense. Or whatever. I'm taking control now. Look at me. I can't even not be the.
I love it.
Melissa.
Listen, what I like sometimes. I'm sure Billy likes it that we don't have to really do anything. Take it away. Let's he's on vacation. He's at the beach. Like let Derek go. I did own a house, when I was married. So I went through that process. I went, back in like 2015, and it was exciting. I mean, it was, going to look at houses and the process, and then obviously I went through the exiting process as well. But after that, I didn't have the money to then buy a house. So I had to rent, and I was in an apartment. And just like Billy said, I mean, it was 4 units. And yeah, I mean, you're obviously, whether you're below, next to, whatever, you don't really have that privacy and, or, I don't want to say independence. I mean, there is still you're still dependent, but, I've been in apartments, and now where I'm at, so I'm renting a house, and I just needed space. I needed a lot more space than an apartment could provide, and even a townhouse. I needed storage. I have a lot of stuff. I need my office. I wanted a place that if I was meeting with somebody, that I could have a nice spot and, a big office. So right now it's way more space than I need, but the price was amazing. And my landlord takes care of my landscaping, cuts my grass, because he's retired and he owns 5-10 of these houses on the block, and that is his retirement for him, right? But and his family and his wife, but he has a presence, and it also is so that, hey, rent's due, he's outside, he's here. It's not like he's an absent person. But yeah, he helped me put in the kitchen island that I built, like a little project. He helped, and we put knobs on this. So having the landlord, he owns the house, for me, I got to do a lot of projects and have that handy person, because he is in to the renovation. Like, he renovates them himself. That's part of his hobby and part of his thing that he does when he's retired. So for me, I don't really have to worry about much other than paying the bills, and he takes care of everything else. And if something goes wrong, you're right. Water heater. I mean, I've experienced the home ownership and the costs that go into all those things that you're fixing, appliances and heating and flooding. And I mean, yeah, you have insurance, but there's certain things that I'm not going to have to deal with financially and or physically, fixing them. There is, to me, that's a huge benefit. I'm single, I'm divorced. Obviously I'm single. I live by myself, and there's not a lot of those things that I know how to do or can then afford to fix. But right now, what's funny is I'm very interested in getting into, an investment property. And, it's that I didn't save, and, or what I did save, after my divorce, I was in really bad debt. And I had to, it's taken me, oh my gosh, 5 years to build my credit back up. It went from here to I'm like right on that good to really good. So, that was my concern, was getting my credit back up so then I can get good rates and things. But it's also about saving, for the down payment and all that. But I think I'm finally here to where I can start to even consider making a plan. Like, I wasn't even anywhere close, up until recently, that I could even fathom the idea of getting into whether it's for me solely, or like we said, a duplex, like a kind of like an investment thing. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I would love to, but I feel okay right now that I don't feel. It would be different if I was with somebody, living with somebody, engaged, married, kids. Obviously, it would be a completely different story. But
so you both obviously saw the benefit of owning property, and you both bought fairly early, although you don't right now, Melissa. But so what was a student debt that burdened you guys? Because that's what you always hear, and it talks about student debt in here, but one of the stats actually is, Gen X, we have the most debt, not you guys. Your debt the debt that you have happens to be student debt, but Gen Xers are the spenders, and even the boomers were spenders, but Gen Xers, it's higher than all the others.
Mine, honestly, mine was credit card. Oh, sorry, Billy. I thought when we said that, I didn't know. But Mine was just because I couldn't, when I got divorced. I mean, divorce a lot of times during divorce, especially women, carry a lot of debt because of, my ex-husband did pay for a lot of things. He made more money and the mortgage and other expenses, but I had my own business and I retail shop. I had expenses, twice as much because I was there and I couldn't afford to do both. And then just, emotionally, mentally, I went down, credit card. My income wasn't there. And I was digging a hole just for myself then. But yeah, I didn't have too much in student loans, but it was more on the credit card side for me.
So you're a Gen Xer in that regard.
I have not had credit cards since 2000 and you were 15 or 16.
I think
retail therapy. It was making me feel better.
And I'm the exact opposite.
Kidding.
I have not a lot of credit card debt, but have student loan debt still. And I think the reason why student loan debt is an anchor is not necessarily the amount, because I didn't have a ton of student loan debts coming out. Like I had like 30 grand coming out of college, right? So that's not a lot comparative to some people that I see like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and don't even have doctorates, right? They have just like regular degrees and they have $100,000 in debt, student loan debt.
Absolutely.
And you see those things at like 5 and 6 and 7%, interest rate. They're never going to pay those things off, right? Whatever they're paying onto it, it's just basically like, trying to bucket a boat with the water and it's got a hole right in it. You're just trying to manage the situation, right? But I think the big thing is for us as millennials, and I don't have any stats to back this up, but I've definitely talked to a ton of millennials, especially as what I do now. And I think coming out of college, we were kind of sold this bill of goods, like you go to college, right? And you probably had it too, Derek, right? Go to college, get a good job, make good money, work for this company for 40 years, right? And when you were getting these degrees, the cost of college was going up, but your paycheck wasn't going up, right? You were coming, I came out of college, with basically a business degree as a supervisor, right? And it was making like $25,000 a year, right? So there's no way you can buy a home, pay student loan, live life, right, on $25,000 a year, right? You had to, I had to have a roommate. We had to split, rent. We had to split a lot of the costs and stuff like that. So I think that's what really set us behind in those beginning years is that, if you're, if I could have maybe made 60 grand that first year, right? I could have doubled up on my student loan payments, maybe paid it off a lot quicker. And then just imagine if, even half the amount of people didn't have a student loan payment anymore, what they could do with that extra $300-400 a month, right, into a savings account, go buy some rental properties like Melissa wants to do, or whatever they want to do with that. We'd probably be in a lot different situation in this country when it came to debt. So I do think it's an anchor, but I don't think it's like the sole thing of why we're in the situation we're in. I think there's a lot of different other factors stemming from that.
Yeah, what I kind of figured out, and I pulled out 3 different stats here on concerning the loan debt subject. What I kind of figured out is everybody else has debt, but the Xers and the Boomers and the silent generation all have another house to sell and equity and money to put towards the next house. But the first-time buyer, they have no money. They're starting with nothing. So any debt, the same amount of debt is going to hinder them from saving up anything. So the Gen Xers, maybe they can't save either because they have so much debt, but they have this equity in their house that they've paid off or they put into it at the beginning. So they can still move and buy a house. But the first-time buyers who can't even save because of student debt or credit card debt or whatever, they can't even get this down payment. They got to wait for my tax return to get $3,000. And then I got to wait for next tax return because you need 10, 15 grand minimum to buy any house for the most part. So that was kind of what I figured out is that everybody has debt. It's just that they need to save and they can't save to buy that first house.
Oh, yeah. I would say that's absolutely. But I also think it's not having, and Billy will attest, but like a financial plan. Like I moved home from college, I started my business thinking like, I'm going to save money. I didn't save money. I was living at home. And what's funny enough is, again, solely my responsibility, my fault, my accountability. But there's some of the parents out there that were like collecting rent and then tucking it away, like, whether they were using it for stuff or not, like, bills or food, rightfully so. I think that's right. But then there's some other ones that are tucking it away, like making you pay rent for like accountability and responsibility and saving and doing all that. And some don't, but I think that's what I met years, my early 20s, my early mid 20s went by, and what did I save for that house that I wanted to buy? Quote, the societal, schedule of, you live with your parents, you save up, you move out, you buy a house, or whatever, rent, buy a house. I have nothing to show for that because I didn't save when I should have.
Yeah. And I think that's a Gen X carryover, because here's a stat that is actually contrary to what we're saying here. Years debt delayed home buyers from saving for a down payment or buying a home. And the highest ones were Gen X and boomers, not millennials.
How many years? Oh, does it say how many years?
For more than 5 years, they had the highest. So they break it down by each age bracket, the percentage of 1 year delayed, 2 years delayed, 3 years delayed. So more than 5 years. So for the longest time delayed, the Gen Xers and boomers had 35% as compared to like 8% with the youngest millennials and 21%. So the longer delays,
right.
I think it's it's those credit cards and the cars and now you have kids in daycare and all that other stuff that adds up. Whereas student debt, you can also, they're pretty lenient on student debt too, right? You can like defer it and not pay it, and they never come out. They don't do anything and whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't have student debts. Luckily, my mom works for Penn State, like I said. But
they'll find you. They always find you.
Yeah. I got a call yesterday. They're like, "Hey, you're 1 day back. Missed your payment or something." Like that. It's like, how is that possible? I'm on auto payment.
I know. Everything I do is auto.
That's not a me
how
fault.
is the payment? How does the payment work?
Auto.
Is it a certain number of years though? Is it set? Is there an end point, or it's just here's your payment for the rest of your life unless you pay us faster?
No, it's usually like a set term, but what ends up happening is what they don't tell you, right? Is that like my first payment was right around like $250 a month, right? My first payment. My payments now are at $340 a month, right? And so the payments go up every like certain amount of years. Plus, the interest rate is a variable, right? It's always changing. Congress, they say it's set by Congress, but it's really set by, because there's two different types of loans. We have federal loans, right, and then we have private loans. The private loans are what's killing people, because the federal loans, they're going to be so much more forgiving, right? They're going to work with you. The private loan people just want their money. they don't care how they get it. They just want it, and so. That's another interesting dynamic is the two different types of loans that people are out there. And I've even seen like people in like my sister's generation, like she's a millennial, but she's on the like tail end of the millennials, right? And there was these Parent Plus loans. There are things that were out there that people were getting into. But one question I have for you, Derek, it just came across, and I don't know if you have the answer or not, but definitely would love to know. How long has the first time home buyer thing been a thing? Like when did that first start? Like as in like helping first time home buyers like get special financing and stuff like that. I always wondered that.
That's a good question. It's definitely a thing now. Yeah.
Did it start like with like your generation? Like we're like, oh shoot, we need help.
Where's Brandon? People. Brandon usually Googles this for us.
I'm going to be guessing the 90s or somewhere around there. Because before that, I mean, that's a really good question. Because way back in the day, you had to have 20% down, 30% down. You had to save. There was no buying when you were young or buying with 0%. you had to save up money. So most people that were buying homes were probably somewhat well established and weren't looked at as like young people or that kind of like build as first time or green or novices or something. So that's a good question. Where that
2008.
That term 2008. You Googled
I just Googled it. Brandon, we're going to really rag on Brandon for not being here today.
2008. That seems.
First-time homebuyer credit was launched in 2008 after the Great Recession caused the housing market to plummet rapidly.
So the credit was 2008.
It said
when they first started helping people. Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, it says it's funny. Oh, wait, this might be different, but it does say it was a first-time homebuyer credit was launched in 2008 after the Great Recession. Unfortunately, the credit isn't available anymore. It expired a decade ago because of the terms of the legislation. But with the first-time homebuyers and countering a historic, could it make a comeback? Well, I guess maybe that's when the idea started in 2008. And regardless,
I remember it.
There's still
you're still
incentives.
Everybody else got, they gave away like $7,000 or something. And then for a couple of years, and then they took it away. And that happened to be the time when I was ready to buy a house. I bought a house. And then like literally 6 months later, like, oh, we're doing it again. Free $10,000, everybody. Yeah.
Well, they're still doing, that's what it was, but that's a good point because they're still doing the, so Dauphin County has something and Pennsylvania has one or a federal one, right? So it's like state, federal, I don't know. And then Dauphin County has one because what's interesting, I'm actually going to be a first-time home buyer. Because I wasn't actually, I wasn't on the mortgage, but I was on the deed. So I wasn't really the owner of the house. I went through the whole process because I was married, but the mortgage was through my ex-husband. So I'm actually going to benefit with those first-time home buyer credits. So I still I've gone through, how much I would need to save and to put down and all that, which is great. I think Peggy's commenting here. We should share this.
The county has a lot of places where the counties usually have them, and they change a lot of the time. And you got to check.
She is right about the bill and World War II, and then gave for the for people coming back from war. They got, but that's also how things got. It was only white people, so that's a lot of how a lot of this started. We've gone through this in my Leadership Harrisburg area, and with diversity and inclusion and all that. That's a whole nother
redlining and
a whole nother thing that happened. But yeah, I wanted to say too, she said it is the fact the generation has so much debt because they want everything now. And honestly, I agree because I'm not, there's so much in millennials that we talk about who want the experience, who want to travel, who want and technology. We're such an we want everything. We want it now. I think she's just absolutely right because with that mindset and that mentality, I'm not going to lie. We are thinking of the future, but we're not. That's why Billy posts all the time about, are you thinking about your future? This and this, because we're not. I mean, most of us, I think, are, in our generation, we're in we talk about, well, look, it's contradictory. Be in the present, be here, be now, get off your phone, like be in the moment and experience this. And okay, but we're doing, we should be doing that, which I do, but it's like, how can we think about the future and saving? It's like, it's too much. It's like, I can't do it all.
You just have to sit down with Billy for 2 hours, take the pain, and then forget about it.
Yeah, let me do all the heavy lifting.
That's fine. Take it all. I'm gonna unpack it all. You take it all.
That's usually the reaction I get. Just here's stuff. Like that's usually what people do. They're like, here's all my here it is, and I'm like okay.
Tell me when I can retire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about location? That's one of the things that was contradictory in what I looked up, and I see we're running long on time, so I want to hit this point. I always hear urban. All the people, there's an urban, this big movement back to urban. The kids want to live in the urban centers and urban.
Yeah.
But when I pulled the location of home purchased, suburban subdivision was the highest for the younger and the older millennials. In the 50% of buyers, 52 and 54%, and all the others are in the 40s. So not a huge difference, but definitely not more.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Billy?
No, I am with that stat. Like I don't understand where that mindset came of people. I think you have different different millennials, like what's the millennials that maybe don't necessarily want to have kids, maybe have a family and stuff like that. They're the types that like flock to the metropolises of the, the urban areas and stuff like that. And then people that want to start families, obviously, find refuge in the suburban area. I like suburban living or even country living, but like for me, like I live in Lidditz, right? But I'm probably like 20, 30 minutes away from Lancaster, right? I could be in Lancaster in 30 minutes or less, depending on traffic, and still get some city feel, right? I can drive to Harrisburg, right? Maybe 45 minutes for me. But I can go get that feel, right? And hang out in Harrisburg, but not have to deal with the city living. So I think location is everything. I think I just like living in the not rural part, but like in between kind of mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it depends on a lot. I think at our age now, and like with seeing a lot of my friends and families and kids and commutes and all that, I definitely think that there's a lot of factors, and in your job, maybe your job is bringing you somewhere and people want to work. Our generation is looking for the jobs that we love. We don't, we don't, it's more about, we've talked about on different podcasts what we're looking for in work, and maybe some of what we're looking for in work is only in the big cities sometimes. And I've seen a lot of millennials moving to the cities, but I just think it's based on I think the idea is like you could live in a city, but then when you have a family, you move outside the city. Like I lived in Philadelphia during college, right in Center City, and most people that were there went to school, maybe worked at a school, maybe they get married, and then they move to the suburbs. It's just kind of like what you do. But then there's people also that love city life. I know a lot of people that have a family in the city. I think I don't really know. I like the idea of being close to things like Billy. Right now I'm in Hershey. I love it. There's everything to do, restaurants. Now that they have the downtown Hershey, but we're still close to Harrisburg. So yeah, I don't think I would go back to city living unless it was, had to, I don't know if I would. So
unless you had a really bad drinking problem and needed to be able to walk home from 2nd Street or something.
I can do that, right?
When I had an apartment on Front Street.
I can do that right now. Actually, I do it often. It's good.
So what both of you said goes perfect with the factors influencing neighborhood choice. For silent generation and boomers. Convenience was like 5% of the respondents said that was the major choice or the major reason they chose a neighborhood. 74% of the younger millennials and 63% of the older millennials chose convenience. So they don't like the cities necessarily, but they do want access to the highways and get to the job quick and all that kind of stuff. So they want convenience, so they just appear to not necessarily want to be in the urban environment.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And so, but yeah, I think we have some time for just one more, right? So one more stat.
Wait, I have a question before, because I sorry, I got distracted by meeting. One of my people in my meeting canceled, but so going back, I'd be really interested, and this is probably not something that you have, but I'd be interested to see the millennials who are buying homes, if they're looking for a single family home or with the townhome or a duplex, like what the draw is to people on that. Because I have friends that live in townhouses, and whether it's maybe price, like they can't find I found this place here. Like I said, it's a 3-bedroom. I have an office. It's actually pretty big. It's pretty nice size for one person. And the price was just like, what's wrong with it? What's going on? I mean, and I have friends that, yes, they own, that are paying just a little bit less, but they have less space, right? So I'd be curious to see when somebody is going out, whether the millennial first-time home buyer or somebody recently that, in the last year or two maybe bought, if they're in a townhouse, why? Is it the community? Is it the association fee? They do all the landscaping. You have neighbors, security. I I don't know, versus, a house?
I'd say in general, any age group, most people want a single family house. They usually, I'd say 9 out of 10 buyer consultations. Do you want townhouse, single family? Either. It's usually, I want a single family. If we're in a low price, if you're in a downsizing, those people are buying like a 300-400. I mean, these townhouses that you kind of frankly be surprised that a townhouse would cost as much, but they're downsizing into this really nice thing. And that's not, but with a young buyer who's maybe in $150,000, $200,000 price range, something like that. When you compare the two houses, a $200,000 single family house it's going to be like one of those little ranches, probably won't have a garage, maybe a carport. It's going to be maybe dated. The roof probably needs replaced. The neighborhood's one of the ones that's kind of aged and maybe still in good shape, but maybe turning into one of those neighborhoods that's everything's getting kind of old and bad. True. And then if you look at the equivalent $200,000 townhouse, newer, nicer, bigger.
Absolutely. All that stuff. I get it. Yeah. Derek's
the negative, if you have pets, people don't want to be in one. Right. The maintenance factor, I love that. Some people, you have that pride and I want my yard and I don't want to hear other people, which is somewhat of a fallacy because the walls and the firewalls and the space they put between modern townhouses, you don't hear people much. Yeah. And especially if you have some kind of noise going on in your house, you're not going to hear anything. So I think it's more of a feeling, or they don't want to pay that association fee of $100 to $200 would be too high. 100, 150 should be reasonable.
Right.
But people also don't keep in mind that usually covers your roof most times, and your exterior and your siding and your snow and maintenance, and sometimes your trash, sometimes your sewer, even things like that. So, when somebody gets a single family home, really, if you're doing it right, you should be putting $100 a month away in a roof fund for 10, 15 years when you need a new roof. Well, if you were smart, but most people don't. They just, I need a new roof or that HVAC system for 10 grand or that water heater, whatever. They don't save for that. They just finance it. Now I got a roof payment or a home equity loan for $15,000 for 5-10 years or what, right, Billy? People just do that. Nobody saves for that. So if you're in a townhouse, that money you think is just kind of going nowhere. And why am I paying this? It actually isn't going nowhere. It's paying things that you would have been paying anyway, is my feeling on it. But in general, everybody wants a single family.
And they also sometimes have like pools, have a club room, have a fitness center. So there's also other benefits to those kind of communities. And you brought up about going to, I know Billy wants to transition, but I forgot to say that you brought up about these communities. So we've been seeing a lot of the charter homes or the Walden, the Arcona around here. The Vartan's going now on Progress in Susquehanna Township. And they're like these little communities where you have, whether it's townhouses, apartments, or single family, but there's stores, there's shops, there's bars, and that's kind of like a mini city. I mean, my ex-husband and I looked at buying in Walden because I liked the idea of having stuff to do and being able to go out, and there was the bike path, and they were eventually going to put a pool and all that. But the cost of that was a lot higher for a townhouse that was above something, even though we had a 2-car garage. We got something in Enola. It was like, $250, $260, I think. For the same price, it was 2,500 square feet, in our own yard and all that. It was almost the same for $250 in Walden. It was like, okay, we had to weigh what we really, where we wanted to be, like you said, the location. But those little communities are I think are popping up, that you have the wineries and the breweries in it and restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, that's a total kind of out west. That's one of those trends that happens in the bigger cities and then kind of moves here slowly. And the younger people do like the older people too. You got a weird mix in those communities because the downsizers like them too because it's walkable. They've got all the stores and things there. And then the young people like it for the reasons you said.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that was, I know we didn't get to all the stats, right?
One more.
Probably need to do a couple more shows together.
Yes. One more.
Okay.
I want to point out.
Go one more.
For Mel and all the women watching, for your benefit, you double. Okay, so single females versus single males purchasing property on their own. Females are double.
No way.
For every generation.
Really?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Boss bitches.
Yeah. It's pretty much double.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I have
you
to.
guys
I have to get in on this.
I mean, if you look at the stats on women versus men on anything, you're crushing us. I mean, college acceptances, doctorates awarded, positions gained, everything. The women are taking over.
I got to get in on that. Yeah, but I can't speak about that until I'm in it.
Well, the interesting stat about our company: 53%, 54% of the licensed agents at PFS are women. So.
Yeah.
There you go. So just right along with that stat line, which I think is awesome. But yeah. So, anyways, Derek, we really do appreciate you coming on. We're gonna have you on again. I think we should definitely have like a debate set up, maybe like a trivia, like is this a Gen Xer? Is this a Gen Z, or is this a Gen Y?
I need a person down here with me to.
Another one of Brady Bunch.
Or maybe a boomer.
Yeah, we got to get a boomer. Maybe we'll put a boomer over there, and then we'll kind of just battle it out, right? To say the least. But no, there's a moment, and we're gonna let Derek stick around for this, where we like to end the show with. Derek definitely knows about this because he watches the show a little bit. But we like to share a millennial meme of the week, and so because. Apparently memes are very millennial, so we stole that.
Yes.
We're gonna take it. I think memes are for everybody.
So, what did you say, Derek?
Memes, like my mom would call them.
The memes.
Yeah.
So and it's Mel's turn for the millennial meme of the week. So Mel, take it away. What you got for us?
Well, I got into this trend of getting two because I say I like variety, so I couldn't decide. But I popped up this one. It says, contrary to popular belief, millennials can still afford to buy homes. And it's a girl sitting outside of the tiniest house. It's not like a tiny house, which are cool. This is like, this looks like a, I don't, how did you describe it, guys? Like a little tiny hut. It's a hut. We will absolutely put this up on our pages, but I thought that was
Derek, what would be the list price on that?
The price of the comparable. Do you guys know about that neighborhood around here?
No.
There's a neighborhood, I think it's like Mechanicsburg, Carlisle somewhere, where it's all little people house. So it's like maybe like a road or two that's all little houses, like not exactly like that. They're made out of regular materials, look like regular houses, but they're all like miniature because it's a bunch of little people that live in this community.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No.
That's interesting.
I was wanting to knock on the
that.
door and go to dinner in their house, like in the movie Elf, and just everything would be giant.
Like your little cup would be, you'd be like,
yeah. I didn't hear about that. That's interesting.
If I can figure out where it is again,
yes.
I'll
find
let
it.
You know.
I can find about anything. Look out.
Because you're so millennial.
Look out when we do that dating show that Billy wants to have me on. I can find anything about anybody. I'm kidding. Here's my second one. Ready? It says, okay, millennials are buying homes because of their dogs, not their children or marriages. They want a better yard for their best friend.
Yeah.
And it's true. We millennials love their dogs. That's what we were talking about earlier, that millennials are not as many having children, but have dogs, So.
Yeah, fur babies, right?
That doesn't go with the environmentally friendliness that millennials have. Buying a dog is the same as buying a full-size SUV, like a Suburban or a Tahoe, and driving it every day. An additional one, not trading your car.
But the
it's
poop?
the same. That's some stat I heard a couple years ago. So having a dog is the same environmental impact. No, because you got to buy food. Your house has to be bigger. You got to take it to the vet. All the resources that a dog consumes is the same as like buying a full-size SUV and somebody driving it around every day.
Poop's fertilizer, and I'm kidding.
Well, there's one more thing we like to do at the end of the show. It's typically Mel's moment, but when we do have a special guest on, we like to give that special guest their moment on the show where they can, to lead us into the weekend, maybe give some advice, inspire us, whatever they feel like talking about. Just a quick little moment that they can take that they can give to the adoring fans that take it with them.
Derek's moment.
We'll make a little one for you, Derek, for next time. But go ahead. Whatever advice you have to give, it could be business, it could be personal, it could be something that people should look for this weekend to maybe promote. Whatever you like, it's your moment.
Huh. I would say, I don't know. I feel like I talk to people a lot about fitness and diet and and that kind of stuff. And I'm always telling people, as you see me doing, find something that you like to do. If you need to lose weight or you're out of shape and you want to get in shape, don't force yourself to run on a treadmill that you're going to hate. And after you lose those 100 pounds, you're never going to do it again. And you're eating Brussels sprouts every day and you hate that. Find something you like to do, whether it's throwing darts or if it's hiking. You don't have to kill yourself running full speed and doing things that everybody pictures about working out that I hate doing and you detest and I don't want to go to the gym. Find something you truly enjoy that you crave doing. Again, even if it's throwing darts, at least you're standing up and walking back and forth for an hour and it makes you passionate about something. So if I'm leaving anything with anybody, find something you enjoy doing and just for your own satisfaction. Play for adults. You get some kids and all of a sudden everybody thinks they're not allowed to play or be silly or do anything fun. And every time I tell people to go rock climbing, oh yeah, my kids would love that. My kids would love that. No, you're allowed to do it too. You can do it too. It's fun and exciting and a good workout. So that would be my push to everybody. I'm always harping on that. You need to be active and you need to be active. Find something you like to do. And if what you like to do is pick things up and put them down and run on a treadmill, that's great. But look outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go. Outside the box.
Outside the box.
I was going to say that was
shameless
nice
plug
there.
Shameless plug.
Nice plug.
I just had a adult slip and slide. It wasn't a real slip and slide. It was a blow up water slide, the biggest, baddest one you've ever seen. And pulling myself, I have bruises all over my body. Pulling myself up, and we were racing and sliding down. And it was a drinking party. But you know what? Like, we got some physical activity in there. So
yeah, nice. Well, Derek, again, we appreciate you coming on here today. We look forward to the next one pretty soon. If you guys are looking for someone to help you buy, sell a home, make sure you reach out to him. Make sure you go check out his podcast, Outside the Box as well, and go check that out. Central PA Group. If you're watching this right now, you're a business owner and you're not in the Central PA Group, you're missing out. Great people, great connections. Look, all three of us met because of that group.
Yeah.
This podcast started because of that group. So you got to make sure you got to go check that out, and join in the fun. So, but like I said, Derek, appreciate you and everything that you do for us. And like I said, we look forward to the next conversation. So, but anyways, yeah, no problem. And so anyways, guys, like I say, always enjoy your weekend. Go have fun. Like Derek said, get out, be active. Right? It's so beautiful out, right? In a couple of months, it's going to be bitter cold. You're going to be hating life. So go out and enjoy the sun. Have a good time. So, but anyways, we will see you again next Friday. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you soon. So have a good one, guys.
Bye.
See everybody.